Hey guys, Jim here. Wanted to share with you a recent acquisition of mine, one that unfortunately I've had for a couple of weeks, and at one point it slipped my mind to do it on video, and then I've had so much going on and so many guest blades to get out of the way that I've been reduced on the amount of time that I have to do these, and unfortunately this kind of got shuffled to the back of the pack. And I wanted to get this out tonight on a rare night where I'm not actually being rushed. I've had to kind of rush through the last 5 or 6 videos that I've done, and I apologize for that, but it didn't change the duration, obviously. There's still 18 to 20 minutes generally, but rushing through the information. And I wanted this one to be a little bit more special. This is something I just received from Widowmaker Knives, and the knife maker, the owner of the brand, his name is Erik Michael. E-R-I-K, by the way, in case you ever email him and you don't want to misspell his name. He's really a fantastic guy, and we got to talking one night. But I think this is before I even joined Instagram. But we started talking knives one night, and I was really intrigued by one of the knives that he did, which was actually, I think, was the very first mini hunter that he made. And I was like, man, that really is pretty badass. And at that point, I didn't have any small knives. I didn't have hardly any fixed blade knives. Didn't have any neck knives. And I said, I'd really love to get on your books to have a custom knife made. And when I say custom, I mean custom. This dude is doing everything by hand. I mean, there's just no other way to do it. He's doing everything by hand. And when he was making mine for me, he was doing the work in progress pictures on Instagram, and it was really cool to watch its progression from little bar stock of steel and little individual, bars of carbon fiber and the emerald jade kieranite. It was really cool to watch him shape everything, put it together, go from assembling it and having perfectly square handles to the contours that he did, which I'll show you in a moment. It was a really fun experience, and Erik was a super, super nice guy from the very beginning all the way through the process, and even now, we still chat every now and then. He's just one of those really great guys, and those are the kind of guys that I like to support, that I like to spend my money with, and I like to kind of tell my friends, especially before he gets to the point where, he's made 1,000 knives and he's gotten to a point where his prices are going to get higher and he's more in demand. You're kind of getting a look here in on the ground floor of a brand that I think is going to very quickly become very, very popular. At least for those that like a small EDC neck knife. He does make more medium and larger size knives, but this was really what I was interested in. So let's get to the knife. What we're looking at here, and before I even put it in my hands, I want you to get an idea for how tiny this knife really is. This is a small ass little knife, but it's a mean little cutter, and you're going to see some marks I already have on the blade because I have been using it. What we're looking at here is an overall length of only 4 inches. The blade itself is 2 inches, and I'm going to say it's probably about 1 inch and 3/4 of cutting surface. And he made mine actually really special. He had done things that he really doesn't typically do with the combination handle and with the mirror polishing. So what we're looking at is O1 tool steel. And before you go, wow, what the hell is that? Nobody uses O1 tool steel. Actually, there's quite a few makers that have used it. And while it's not a really popular steel that you're going to see on really exotic, expensive knives, O1 tool steel has actually proven itself to be a very resilient steel. It's very tough, so you don't have to worry so much about rolling your edge or chipping the edge of your blade. It's going to hold a nice edge, and it has the ability to go down to a very fine razor's edge. And as you see, it can take a polish, almost a full mirror, not quite, but almost a full mirror polish can be achieved with this steel. Some steels you cannot polish. He's using a nice thick chunk of it here. I haven't measured it to tell you precisely what it is. Let's just call it chunky. It's, well, here, I've still got my quarter out here. So there you go. That's about $1 worth of quarters in width, whatever the hell that would be. That's an interesting new way to measure the thickness of a blade, isn't it? Yeah. He did a really fantastic job sharpening this. It is crazy sharp, very utilitarian. It's got a great blade shape to it that's going to be excellent for cutting. I've opened boxes and just, random little suburban commando shit. Again, I'm not out in the woods and I'm not a hiker or a hunter or anything like that, so I'm not doing a lot of the things that some of you guys are. And during the discussions of different materials, we had talked about personalizing it. So this is the very first, it won't be the last, but the very first knife I have that has my skull logo on there with my goatee and everything else. And I thought that was really cool of him to offer to do that. And this, the conversations that we had came from him subscribing to and watching my videos. So he was already very familiar with my logo that's up on the top right corner of all my videos. So I thought that was a really super cool thing of him to offer to do. It ended up turning out to be a really generous thing because he had made the entire knife and done an amazing polish on it, and then remembered that he hadn't done that yet. So he had to go back, do it, and then repolish the blade. So Erik, thank you for all the extra work that you put into this. Before I go further with the knife, let me show you the cool packaging that he includes with each of the knives, and you get to see what his presentation is. So you do get a Pelican 1010 box for the larger knives. I'm assuming it's just a different model, but you'll get a Pelican box. There is the card that comes in it, and it will list the name of your knife. Mine is a custom mini hunter. This was the 4th mini hunter that he's made. Shows the birth date, shows the scales, carbon fiber and emerald jade kieranite. Blade length 2-inch, overall 4-inch, 01 tool steel, and Erik's signature. If you guys want to shoot him a message, here is all of his info here. Widowmakerknives.us, info@widowmakerknives.us, and there is his phone number. So just a nice, classy presentation. He did include for me a nice carbon fiber look Kydex neck sheath with plenty of cord, and actually tied it really well. This is it's kind of a substantial piece of paracord here. It locks in really, really well. Great retention, no rattle, and it pops out super easily. He gives you a choice of different kinds of cords for the end, because on a blade, or excuse me, a handle length this short, you're going to want to have something else so that you can kind of tug it out of here. And he's got standard, he's got this really cool spiral, which is what I requested. I thought the spiral was really interesting, and it feels kind of good in the hand as well. We all like things that feel good in the hands, don't we? Oh yeah. So there is his logo on the other side. Da-da-da-da. Kind of creative, the hourglass W mirrored for WM Widowmaker. Very slick, very cool. And the materials that I requested, and I thought that was also really cool of him, that he just let me name off whatever the hell I wanted him to put on there. So we've got a really nice carbon fiber, almost a bolster look here, and then the emerald jade kieranite. I've been getting a little more into kieranite lately. I find it to be really fascinating. It's an interesting material that gives you the look of different kinds of pearls and things like that without the obvious expense. It's still not a cheap material, but it's not tremendously more than something like basic like G10. Everything is contoured really well for kind of a thick, blocky knife. It's comfortable in the hand. Wraps right around your little knuckles there comfortably. Everything is smooth to the touch. Everything is rounded off nicely. The posts nice and rounded off. Cool texture to the handle. Kind of a rock pattern, which I wasn't aware that you could get such a nice refined look out of the kieranite once you started carving into it like that. So it's a nice little thing to see. Did a great job on the blade. We went satin on the flats, and then to a higher polish, satin on the grinds. And like I said, it is really sharp. I don't know if I have any paper around here, but it is really, really sharp. I've had a chance to carry this probably half dozen times or more. You don't even really notice it. I now have a couple of neck knives and kiradashis and whatnot, and the biggest convenience to them is that they're not going to be cumbersome, or you're not going to carry them. So I can hang it around my neck, I can toss it in my pocket in the sheath, just take the cord off there, and it's super easy. There's never an excuse to leave the house without a knife when you've got something like this, and you're going to be surprised how many little odd jobs you're going to find yourself needing a neat little fixed blade. I mean, I've always got a folder in my pocket And there are days, honestly, as much as I use even my more expensive knives, there are certain tasks that I look at the knife in my hand and go, I paid $1,500 for this little bastard. Do I really want to go cutting down that cardboard, which may have a staple in it somewhere that I don't see? Or would I take a little knife like this, something I could still get good leverage on? It's a fixed blade knife. I could do whatever I need to do with it. And you know what? If I ding up a blade on a knife that's $150, something like that, it's a lot easier to swallow as far as the investment goes. So, there's not really a lot to talk about being a fixed blade. There's no lockup to talk about or anything like that. But it's a very well-made, well-balanced little knife. It's comfortable in the hand. It's very, very utilitarian in its shape and its size and its weight. He just did an all-around bang-up job. And like I said before in the beginning of the video, I like to support some of the smaller guys that really don't have their name out there yet, that haven't struck that amazingly huge popularity. And everybody knows me. If what I get in my hand is a piece of crap, I'm going to say it's a piece of crap. If there are pros and cons, I'm going to give you the pros and cons. And honestly, on a little knife like this, there's not really much you can screw up. Let's be honest. If you can get the handles to stay on the steel, you've pretty much got a usable knife. But he did a lot of nice little touches to customize it for me, to my tastes. Let me request the materials I wanted to use, even though he had never used any of this Kirinite before. And the way he's contoured everything, it's a practical EDC that I can either throw in my pocket, I can throw around my neck, and I know it's going to get the job done. One of the interesting things about 01 tool steel is it is, I don't want to say it's prone to corrosion or prone to rusting, but you do want to take extra special care with it. And one of the things that I've heard about that's suggested by those that use it is to let it get its natural patina, and that'll help protect it against rusting. I always use my Aegis EDC knife care solution, so I don't really worry about rusting all that much, but that is something to be aware of. Let it get its own natural patina, or when you're ordering a knife from Erik or anyone else who uses 01 steel, they could do a forced patina where you don't have anything to worry about from the day you open the box. It's ready to go. You don't have to worry about it rusting. Still, you want to be, you don't want to be a jackass about it. Keep your tools clean, no matter what it is. Just to prevent any possible issues. But most of the ones that he's done, there were only obviously 3 made before this one, but I've seen before and models made after this. He does a really cool kind of a fallout look, like it was buried in the earth for 100 years and then unearthed, and it's got like this cool forced patina through it. So definitely check Erik out. Give him a call, give him an email, and just kind of chat him up a little bit. He's a really personable guy. Now, when you see pictures of him, you're gonna look at him and go, "Dude, that guy looks scary. Looks like he could be a real jerk." He's so not. He's a really, really super, super nice guy. And that's pretty much all I got to say about it. Again, being a little necker knife, there's not a hell of a lot to get into, but it was a great customer experience. It was a great ordering experience. He got the knife done pretty darn quickly. He did get tied up with a few other things, but it was still a really quick build, especially for me. I'm used to waiting, months and years to get stuff done, and he was super fast on the turnaround, got it out to me. All this great packaging. You got to realize, for the small amount of money that he's going to charge you to throw in, the Pelican box, he's probably paying a good $12, $15 for that. There's a lot that goes into it. Just cord is not expensive, but the time he's taking to tie it and do the twist on it, the sheath that he's making custom molded for your knife, all these little things. You go out, I just got a pair of really nice custom Snodies. You know what? You don't get a sheath with your Snody. You'll spend $150 to $300 on his basic chisel grind pocket knives, not pocket knives, fixed blade knives, and you don't even get a sheath. You got to really think about these things. So when I say you get a really nice sheath in this, that's not something to sneeze at. You could spend 2-3 times the amount of money with another maker. And by the way, I'm not picking on Mike Snody at all. I'm just using him for an example because I just got the knives. But you could go to any number of makers and look at their somewhat budget-oriented knives, and they don't kick in even a Kydex sheath for you. If they even offer it, you've got to pay for it. So all these little things add to the customer experience and add to your overall, your overall impressions of that maker. Working with somebody that's agreeable to what you want to do instead of dictating to you how it needs to be done. And we've all dealt with makers that do that. Well, I won't work with that material, and it's got to be this way, and I'm not going to contour this. I'm going to do it that way, and that's just the way I do it. No, let me tell you something there, bucko. There are thousands of really good knife makers out there, and I can spend my money with them, and they'll let me get a knife that I really want, not what they dictate. So it's refreshing to see guys like Erik and a few of the other great makers that are out there that say, you know what, let's have fun with this. Seriously, let's have fun with it. Let's see what happens. He wasn't sure how the polish was going to come out or my logo or the handle of these materials, but he said, you know what, let's go for it. Let's have some fun with it. That's the kind of guy I like to deal with. So there you go, guys. Widowmaker Knives Mini Hunter number 4, a constant companion for me now. And this is coming from a guy that 7 months ago never even considered owning a fixed blade knife. I'm strictly a folder guy. And it's been you guys, you, my subscribers, and other buddies of mine making videos that have kind of talked me into it and opened my eyes to how great that world really is. So, in closing, I just want to say thank you, Erik. It was really a great pleasure dealing with you. It's a fantastic knife. It is something that I do use a lot. It doesn't just sit in a drawer and collect dust. So thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for being so expeditious about it. I do realize that you had a lot of work that was starting to pile up. And, best of luck to you in the future. And I do think I might be looking at the next size up to match this little guy. We'll see. We'll see. See if we can figure out a way to carry it in the pocket. I don't know about that. All right, guys, have a good night. I will talk to you soon.